Great to see you, Mikko.
Thank you, Mika. Great to be here.
Yeah. I was thinking that we would have a bit of a discussion about Salesforce, security, AI, and what the future brings in all of this. How have you seen the change that we have experienced for business systems over the past 10 years or so? How have you seen that from a security lens, and how do you think that that's now going to change when we're going more towards agentic future?
I think the single biggest shift has been in the attacks from clients to the cloud. Now, you remember 10 years ago, people were getting infected on their Windows computers just by browsing the web. You would make a Google search, you would click on a link, that would be a drive-by download exploit site, which would exploit the Flash plugin in your browser, and end result of all of this is that you got hit by malware. That's not a thing anymore. I mean, client security has become so much better over the last decade, and more of the data that we used to have on our computers has moved on to the cloud. And that's why the single biggest shift is that the attackers have figured this out as well. That's why they are going after the data. They're going where the data is, and the data is in the cloud services, it's in the Salesforce ecosystem and other similar systems. And that also means that if technical ways of breaking in are becoming harder because browser security and operating system security has been improving, big part of these attacks are then going through the users. If you can't break the system, then try going through the users.
Yep. That definitely is happening. But hasn't there also been a big change in the business model? Because 20 years ago when we were fighting these malware writers and what they were doing, they were usually trying to monetize by spamming something, or maybe the malware was showing some sort of a fake antivirus, install this and pay $5 or something like that. And now with the Bitcoin and all of that, the extortion is really a big thing.
Sure. Ransom has become the number one way of making money for the criminals. And overall shift we've seen there as well, which is linked to all of this, is how it used to be the same kind of attacks targeting consumers and companies, like malware outbreaks, email worms, and the same exploits being used to target home computers and corporate systems. Well, that's not a thing anymore either. We have completely different kinds of attackers going after home users and going after companies. Home users have to worry about scams like auction scams or eBay scams or romance scams or investment scams. And then when you look at companies, it's mostly about these ransom cases. And it doesn't need to be ransomware, which is of course a huge problem. It could just be extortion for stolen data. It could be a denial of service attack against an online shop. Pay us and we will allow your shop to continue operating. But it really is like two different worlds now, and companies and enterprises really have to look at cybersecurity with a completely different lens than what they might have to think about for their home computers.
What kind of things do you think that this actually changes now, for the companies? How should they change, for instance, when it comes to the security of their Salesforce? Like the business model has changed, the attackers use different techniques, they are more going to the cloud. Are companies really taking the right steps to keep in with the times, basically?
Well, I guess they're trying, but it's hard. And it's the harder, the bigger and older your organization is. I often say that the biggest enemy for security is complexity. And the more complex your systems are, the harder it is to see what's really going on. The harder it is to see what kind of odd things are happening in your systems. The more systems you have, the more legacy systems you have, the more servers and protocols, the more code you run, the more room you have for error. And the biggest problem there is the lack of visibility. When you have really large and complex systems, it's really hard to really keep tabs on what's going on. And that's one area where the kind of solutions that Valo is building are really changing the game, brings visibility into very complex systems. And that not only enables you to fight security problems more effectively, it enables you to manage the whole system more effectively.
Yeah, I'd add to that the business systems and Salesforce is a really good example of a complex business system that is business critical for companies, that the focus of those Salesforce teams is often centered around focusing on what's important for the business, the new project, the new product launch, the organization change, something like that. And they need to keep the system up and running. It's business critical. If Salesforce doesn't work, the business stops. So they may not have enough time and they can't really take the risk that one of their operations of cleaning up, simplifying the org will actually then cause problems for the business.
Yeah. And the exciting thing happening around all of these business ecosystems and Salesforce especially is, of course, the biggest shift everywhere else, which is generative AI. And when you think about what we just discussed, like complex systems, lack of visibility, hard to find these problematic cases, well, that's exactly where generative AI shines. Because generative AI shines when you throw a lot of data at it, let it figure out the big trends, crunch the numbers, and then find the weird things. And that's really, really powerful from a security point of view, because we used to be securing things by trying to find the evil things. Here's a piece of malware. Here's an exploit. We know that this is bad. We know that we have to block this. Well, that works as long as you know everything that's bad, but you can't possibly know everything that's bad. So that's why this shift into trying to detect really unusual, really abnormal, really rare, really weird things. That's really powerful, and it's especially powerful because it's almost impossible for the attackers to go around it. It's fairly easy to avoid traditional security products. Just buy the product, install it on your own system, and if it detects your attack, change the attack until it's not detected. But if you're detecting weirdness, well, how do you avoid that?
Yep. And I think that's a key point. Like 20 years ago, I was telling to my team that when we were trying to detect malware that was polymorphic or metamorphic, changing its appearance, that the one thing that remains constant is that the malware always behaves in a malicious way. But now when it comes to these attacks that we're seeing, for instance, against Salesforce today, they're actually kind of living off the land. They are using the same tools as the kind of dual-use tools.
Right.
They're using SaaS services that the normal admins and normal Salesforce users are using. They're just doing it maybe in a strange way at a strange hour, but it's still coming from the same IP address. Right. It's the same service. Yeah. It's just, why is this person doing it at this time of the day, which may be the only signal that something weird is happening.
Yeah, and when we look at like concrete, real examples happening against Salesforce systems right now, like these data connectors that attackers are trying to get end users to add into their Salesforce configurations, maybe by sending them emails or even calling them up, claiming to be from support and asking them to change something in their configuration. That's really odd. Like an end user adding a new data export configuration into their system, which in itself isn't evil. This is a supported function of the system. But why is that user doing it like this at this time in this way? That's weird. And that's really powerful when you can use that as a security control.
Absolutely. Mikko, can I ask, why are you involved in Valo? Why did you believe in us from the very beginning?
Well, it's a great team, and it's such a great time to be in securing cloud ecosystems and business-critical solutions like Salesforce. Salesforce, of course, is a huge success story. It is changing the world, and that, of course, means that attackers will go after the successful solutions. They will go after the data. So I'm really happy and proud to be an angel investor and an advisor to Valo, because I believe in the project and I believe in the team.
Thank you for the trust.
Thank you very much.